So here's my challenge. As a composer, I don't sing in public anymore, but I have one day to learn a song, get my voice up to speed, deliver a performance, to record it tomorrow. On the one hand, there shouldn't be any pressure. This is not the definitive cast recording. This is just a demo for the writer. On the other hand, I am sharing it with you good people on YouTube, so pressure. So this video is how I streamline my rehearsal process and how I approach the recording. Maybe a few tips along the way. Hi, I'm Scott. You're watching Inside Musicals, the channel for all things musical theatre. Now, if you haven't seen my video about writing this song, Mama's Gift, I'll link that at the end of the video and in the description. Now, you'd think that singing this song would be easy, because I wrote it. But because it's for a musical intended for someone else, when I'm composing, I don't like to sing it because I don't want my personal vocal mannerisms to colour the song. So I haven't sung it, let alone sung it into my voice. And for any professional singers out there, you'll know how important that is. Now, in a musical, you might have 4 to 6 weeks to commit a song to memory, to hone the performance and build stamina. But I have to get there overnight. So I need a strategy. Because simply repeating a song doesn't make it better. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Now, when I'm performing, my experience of a song is kind of like overlapping maps. Does anyone else have that? It's just me. I'm not weird. Okay, a little. I mean, there's the music, lyrics, dynamics, of course, but then there's the emotional map of the song, the kinesthetic map, how it feels physically. I might have a visual map of the high and low points of the song. I might even have a running dialogue of the subtext, and each layer affects the others. So my biggest tip for anyone rehearsing is don't try to do everything at once. You can't retain it all consciously. It has to become muscle memory. Start with the basic elements and add detail with each repetition, but be specific so you know what you're trying to achieve. Keep the things that work and change the things that don't. So I'm going to give myself 5 stages of rehearsal. This first time through is purely mechanical. It's the most idealized the song will ever sound. It's not pretty, it's not a performance. There's no expression, rhythm, or phrasing, and every note is treated equally. My 2 priorities are notes and words. I'm looking for the center of every pitch and where it sits in my range, and optimal mouth shapes for every vowel and consonant. And within that, I'm looking for consistent resonance from sound to sound. See my video about resonance. And opportunities to release the jaw, so I'm building in relaxation right from the beginning. And I'm going phrase by phrase, repeating that phrase till I'm satisfied, and only then moving on to the next. Never, never yearn for riches, riches. Never, never yearn for riches. They'll never bring you peace, never bring you peace, never bring you peace. But a warning. Don't do this exercise within earshot of housemates or colleagues. It is so irritating that will do you a physical injury. Duty of care. It's been said. Out of my hands. You're welcome. Now, if we only ever sing through the whole song at tempo, it's easy to gloss over the tricky bits. But when it's syllable by syllable, we can maximize every moment. Hear what's not working, feel it, and we can adjust it immediately. Now, it should be at full voice for proper breath support, but don't oversing. Because if you just mark it, you're not giving yourself the physical or oral feedback to feel the energy and coordination that's going to be needed in performance. Now, in the second stage, it should still sound robotic, but now we're adding rhythm and we're putting it all together at tempo, trying to maintain agility, diction, pitch, resonance. Never yearn for riches, they'll never bring you peace. Try to learn to value what can set your heart at ease. Try to learn to value what can set your heart at ease. But now I'm thinking about breathing and phrasing. Am I singing through the line of every phrase? Where's the most natural place to breathe? Where do I need to breathe for technical reasons? And am I breathing fully? Mama, you to tell me fairy tales of ships with magic sails, of ships with magic sails. Mama used to tell me fairy tales of ships with magic sails, of lamps and talking fishes, of rings that granted wishes. Now, the third stage is the acting stuff, where we explore character. We start to build the meaning of the song, the emotional map. And this stage is most open to interpretation. We're transforming that idealized sound into something that communicates, that connects. So I sing through the song once just to understand the flow of the song, the flow of the music, the ideas, the drama. Where do they coincide? Where do they conflict? Where does the song build? Then I go back stanza by stanza and I challenge every word, every phrase. Do I understand it? What does it mean to me? What does it mean to the character? What does it mean to them in context? And how do I convey that through the sound of the voice? Now, in this song, the character refers back to the past, which could result in a detached, dispassionate sound. But I decide that whatever she recalls, she needs to be in that moment, reliving it as though happening for the first time. And so that's the sound of the voice at the moment. Never yearn for riches, they'll never bring you peace. Try to learn to value what can set your heart at ease. Now, being in the moment of the character might mean that you choose to join certain phrases on a single breath, or maybe divide others. It tells me where I need to push the voice and where I can hold back for more intimate sound. Now, I could do a whole video, a series of videos on how to interpret a song. Let me know if I should. But the balancing act here is, how do I adjust my technique to support my dramatic choices? And how do I adjust my dramatic choices to support my technique? And this is where each of those layers affects the others. My touchstone is always, if this were a conversation, how would it make sense? Now, sometimes that can mean sacrificing the beauty of the voice, but then that's where things get interesting. The fourth stage is what I call humanization, and it's the little things that start to loosen the song up. We can start to take liberties with the music. We don't rewrite it, but maybe we talk certain words instead of singing. Mama used to tell me fairy tales of ships with magic sails, of lamps and talking fishes, rings that granted wishes. Or we use rubato to push and pull the timing in the middle of a phrase. Mama used to say that I was wonderful. Or we linger on a certain word or throw others away. Or maybe we lengthen a vowel on a word to emphasize it rather than using volume. Mama used to tell me I was beautiful. Versus Mama used to tell me I was beautiful. We can create anticipation by holding back a phrase. Try to learn to value what can set your heart at ease. Try to learn to value what can set your heart at ease. Or add rhythmic drive by anticipating an upbeat. Never yearn for riches, and never yearn for riches. So we can cut a note short or hold it longer if it makes sense and if there's space for it. Mama used to say that I was wonderful. Don't ever lose your wonder for the world. Don't ever lose your wonder for the world. Now, in musical theatre, I'm not a fan of vocal ornamentations if it's for style rather than character, but maybe we slide between notes. If you dream someday, if you dream someday. But maybe we fall off at the end of a phrase. Add vocalizations like sighs, grunts, laughter, vocal fry. That's my mama's gift, and now I'm sharing it. My fifth stage is for the sake of the recording session, and that's marking up the music. I want to be able to reference it at a glance, but I don't want to be reading the music while I'm singing, or it results in a stilted performance. Like when you're reading from a book, it never sounds natural. So keep it simple. Don't mark up every breath. Only the most significant ones, say where you keep missing a breath, where you need a particularly deep breath. If you decide to change the phrasing, lengthen a note, do something that's not written, put it on the page as a reminder. If I want to speak a word or laugh or maybe mark a whole section with an expressive word like magical, whether it's something practical like a crescendo, a change of dynamic, a difficult interval, these are just reminders. And it doesn't matter how you notate, as long as it makes sense to you. So here's how I approach the recording session, because when I'm recording myself, I'm wearing multiple hats. Engineer, producer, talent. The engineer captures the performance, the producer guides the performance, and the talent drives everyone crazy. So to minimize the crazy with my engineer hat on, I set up the space the day before I record so that when I come in as the talent, my head's in the song rather than the technology. So this might mean mics, cables, hardware, software, setting up compression or reverb for monitoring if that's what I'm looking for. Now, as producer, my priorities have changed over the years, and that impacts what I do as a singer. Once upon a time, I demanded endless takes until it was perfect, whatever that means. But I've learned the hard way that it not only sucks the spontaneity from the singer, that as the voice tires, those later takes don't match the early ones, so they don't edit so well anyway. And too much micro-editing, particularly in a theatre song, can disrupt the flow and consistency of performance. So too many takes is just an exercise in diminishing returns. So under my producer hat, I follow 4 rules, particularly for acoustic style songs, which this one is. 1, I'm more relaxed about imperfection if that supports the story. So I aim for no more than maybe half a dozen takes. 2, to capture the energy of the song, I prefer as little editing as possible. So I record full takes of the whole song rather than section by section. 3, I only use pitch correction when absolutely necessary on an otherwise good take. Used indiscriminately, it can suck the humanity out of a vocal. Just watch The Greatest Showman. Great singers, lifeless recording. And 4, probably most importantly, I can break any of the other 3 rules if it makes sense to do so. So back to me, all eyes on me, the talent. Now, most performers have some kind of vocal routine, ranging from superstitious to pragmatic. So the tip here is to know yourself and what you need. Now, I know I'm a morning person, so I prefer to record early in the day when my focus is fresh and my nasal passages are clear. So in the morning, I hydrate. For me, it's green tea, lemon juice, cider vinegar, water, keeping it clean. No breakfast, because I can't sing on a full belly. That's just me. My vocal warm-up is a bare minimum. I don't want to tire myself. So it's humming, loosening the jaw, sirening throughout the range, and maybe sing one song that I already know really, really well, just to check in with la voce. And only then, if I need to take it further, will I do more. Now, my producer's plan is for no more than half a dozen takes, but the first take, for me, is mainly a rehearsal. Just to get the jitters out, to get used to the sound of the headphones. Then, as engineer, I'm also checking the levels that I'm not going over. But back to me as the talent, I do listen back to that take, just so I know whether my interpretation is actually reading on the recording. Now, in this case, this first take is not perfect, but I keep it as reference in case I end up down some weird rabbit hole of interpretation. But here's where I make my first adjustments. I want to take the chorus more broadly, and there's a particular recurring phrase that keeps tripping me up. So I'm going to change my breathing, and I think it'll sound more natural that way anyway. The only wish she knew that could come true was work to make the wishes. But the only wish she knew that could come true was work to make the wishes work for you. Now, people can't see you in a recording, but physicality is really important because it colours the sound of the voice. So whether it's facial expression or gesture, do whatever works for you as long as it doesn't take you away from the mic and it doesn't make a noise, except what you're singing. So now I do 3 takes in a row without pause, just to get on a roll, and make a mental note each time of any stumbles or inaccuracies so I know I get them right the next time. Now, if I were recording someone else, I'd probably write down notes for every take so I know exactly what's working, what we've got covered, what was not, what was interesting. But as the talent, I don't want split focus, so I do it all in my head for now. And much like a rehearsal, it's important to have a strategy for each take. Otherwise, you're just repeating yourself, reproducing the same mannerisms, and that can get stale. So I try to keep coming back to the story and the impulse of the drama to keep it spontaneous. Now for take 5, I want to nail a couple of moments that still haven't quite hit the mark. And I want to take the beginning of the song a little more intimately than I have previously, just to see if it works. Mama used to tell me I was beautiful. Now, after 2 false starts, which I deleted, don't tell the producer, I think I've got everything covered with that 5th take. So I'm going to do one more just for safety. Now I think, look, if the pressure's off, why not make this one a wild card? Let's go a little left of field. So take 6. Different, but not better. There were 2 moments that I thought were interesting. And while the impulse was right, the execution was left wanting, I think is the phrase. So in spite of my producer's rules about no more than half a dozen takes, I am going to record just those 2 phrases with a little bit of lead in. Because I think I'm otherwise happy with the rest of the song. Although I won't really know for sure until I listen back. Now, it's important to stress that this was just my process for this particular song. Should I do more specific tutorials or tips on how to rehearse or interpret a song, a mic technique, recording technique? Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you need. So given the fast turnaround, how does it actually turn out? Did I capture the spirit of the song? Can you hear the techniques at work? There's only one way to find out. That is to follow the link on the screen. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I do love you. Now get out there, watch the video. No, seriously, watch the video. Watch it. Love you. TikTok.